Hi guys, welcome to yet another video. Today we're looking at economics and we are focusing on the national budget. In this video we are going to look at what is the national budget, how is it constituted, and how is it divided to the provincial budgets, to the municipal budgets. I'm the general and this is the masterclass. So guys, did you know that there's actually 3 budgets and not just one? Most of us, we are familiar with the main budget, which is presented by the Minister of Finance at the end of February, which is the national budget. But actually, this budget of the government is done in 3. So let's look at all the 3 different budgets that we have. The national budget is the statement of government's planned expenditure and anticipated income for the fiscal year. The government's fiscal year runs from 1 April to 31 March the next year. The budget is presented by the Minister of Finance in February every year. So as you know, guys, the government, just like all of us, also has to prepare a budget. They have to detail how much money they expect to receive in the coming financial year and what are they going to spend that money on. So by the way, they receive their money through taxes. So they're going to tell us how much taxes they're going to charge in the form of business tax, income tax, VAT, and so on. Then when they have received that money, they also tell us what they are going to use it on, because they have so many competing priorities and they have to decide which money is going to which part. Then after that, we have to also look at what happens when this money has been released. How is it spent? How is it actually happening in real time? So this money will be spent through the provincial budgets and through the municipal budgets, which are a flow from the national budget. However, let's look at the second type of budget, which is separate from the national budget. Number 2, the medium-term budget policy statement. It is presented by the Minister of Finance during the last week of October. The Minister of Finance informs Parliament of any changes that have occurred since February. It provides the country with the government's official economic forecast for the next 3-year period. Now, the government year starts on 1 April every year. The national budget is done at the end of February. After 6 months, you are going to find that there may be changes that have happened in the economy and they may be affecting the budget. So the minister comes to give a follow-up budget at the end of October, and he's going to be detailing from what he said in February, what has changed and what adjustments is the government going to make to ensure that things go as planned despite the changes. So the national budget is working together with this medium-term budget policy, which is happening at the end of October. Then the third type of budget that we're going to look at is the medium-term expenditure framework. The medium-term expenditure framework shows income and expenditure estimates for a 3-year period. The medium-term expenditure framework contains information that is more detailed. It informs the government on how revenues should be collected for the period of the 3 years. It shows government's functions such as education and healthcare, government's role in certain economic sectors such as construction and transport. It gives information for a longer term. So what is the connection between these 3 budgets? The first budget, the national budget, is for 1 year, 1 fiscal year, which is 1 April to 31st March the following year. Then the next one, which is the midterm budget policy statement, comes as a follow-up in October of the same year to give a feedback on what has changed since the last budget that was done in February and to accommodate those changes to ensure that goals are still achieved despite the changes. Then we've got the medium-term expenditure framework, which is there to give us a broader scope of where the country is going, where the fiscus of the country is going. How do they do this? They give us the details for a 3-year period, meaning that when the minister is looking at the budget of that particular year, he is looking at it in terms of the 3-year period or the 3-year plan of the government. So these 3 budgets work together. However, the main one is the national budget. Hi guys, sorry to disturb your video. I'm just here to discuss with you 3 ways in which you can support the channel. Number 1 is to watch the ads. So guys,
The ads that come before the video, during the video, and after the video are linked to this particular video that you are watching. If you don't skip the ads and you actually watch, we're going to be rewarded by the advertisers. Then number 2 is to invite me as a guest speaker to your event at your school, a school function, prize giving day, revision classes, and so on. I'll gladly come. Number 3, we've got the Masterclass Level Up program, which is designed for all those who want to write their exams in May and June of 2025. We are covering 3 subjects: accounting, business studies, and economics. All the information you need is in the description box below. Now let's get back to the video.
So the next thing, as we know in South Africa, we've got 3 levels of government. We've got the national government, the provincial government, and the municipal government. The next thing is for us to look at, when the government has done the budget at a national level, how is it cascaded down to the provinces and to the municipalities? So this is how it works. Number 1, the main budget is what we discussed, is a comprehensive document showing government revenue and expenditure at various levels of aggregation according to the institutional structure of the public sector. This is tabled in February of each year. After it is presented, the Parliament votes for or against it. If it is accepted, it becomes an act of Parliament. So this is the first layer of the budget. It's done. If Parliament approves, it's now good to go. Then what happens next? The provincial budget. The provinces in South Africa have their own budgets. This budget is presented to the provincial legislator in the week following the main budget. Their tax year is also from 1 April to 31st March. They receive approximately 44% of the national budget expenditure after the top slice. Top slice consists of debt services and the contingency reserves, which are subtracted before the distribution of revenue. So we are basically saying that after the national budget is done, each province communicates with the national treasury so that they can receive their allocation of how much money will then be given to their province. So each province will be allocated, and like here we said, 44% of their budget will come from the national budget because some of the money is reserved to service debt and so forth. Then after the provinces receive it, what's next? The municipal budget. Municipalities receive funds directly from the central government in the form of equitable share grants and conditional grants. So the municipalities also receive money from that national budget directly from central government for what they will spend in their different municipalities, which means all municipalities will report to the central government on how they spent the money, and all provinces are also accountable to the government on how they spent the money. Now let's look at how this money is shared amongst the provinces and amongst the municipalities. The first layer is equitable share. Equitable share formula distributes revenue according to 6 components. So this is how each province will receive money. The first is the education share, which is based on the number of school-going age population and the average number of learners enrolled over the past 3 years. The health share is based on the proportion of the population with and without access to medical aid. Basic share is derived from each province's share of the total population of the country. So before I continue, when we are talking about this sharing, this is clearly showing us that provinces are not going to receive the same amount of money from the national budget. That money is going to be shared according to the relevant circumstances of that province. Like we have seen here in the education share, it is looked at in terms of how many kids are going to school in that province. They are at the age of going to school, and what is the average enrollment over the last 3 years. Those who have a bigger enrollment will get a bigger budget. Those who have a smaller enrollment will get a lesser budget. Then when we look at health as well, provinces who have their population which is not covered by medical aid a lot are also going to receive more money, while those who have more coverage of medical aid will receive less money. So provinces are not going to receive the same amount of money. It is going to be shared according to these parameters. The next one there is the institutional component. This one is divided equally amongst provinces. Then the poverty component is based on the number of poor people in a province. Then the economic output component is proportional in terms of the regional GDP. So there are 6 components here, guys, to ensure that provinces get the money in the most relevant way, not necessarily equal, but relevant way. Those ones that are contributing more to the GDP, they are also given more money to allow them to continue the good work they are doing. Those with poor people, they are also given more money so they can support the poor that are among them. Then we move over to the second one, conditional grants. Conditional grants are used to promote spending on national priorities. It compensates provinces for providing services that extend beyond provincial boundaries. It also supports compliance with norms and standards. It includes grants for funding such as infrastructure, HIV/AIDS programs, FET school support, and housing subsidies. In this case, provinces are rewarded for the good work they are doing. Some are working on HIV and AIDS programs, which is a national issue, and they are contributing to that cause. Some are building infrastructure, and this infrastructure is going to help the whole country at large. So the government encourages that kind of behavior in the provinces by rewarding them with a conditional grant. Then we move over to municipal budget. Municipalities receive funds directly from the central government in the form of equitable share grants and conditional grants. The first one, equitable share grants. Equitable share grants are given to municipalities consisting of 4 components. Number 1, basic services such as water, sanitation, electricity, and refuse removal. Development needs, e.g. streets and street lighting. Institutional needs such as the basic costs for administration and governance. Then fiscal capacity to enable municipalities to raise revenue through property registration, property tax, grave costs, traffic fines, etc. So all municipalities receive money from the government based on these criteria because they all have more or less similar needs. They all have to take care of sanitation. They all have to provide water. They have to also deal with electricity issues, property registration. All these things that are done at a municipal level, they are given the money from the government to ensure that they have smooth operation of their services. Then the second one is conditional grants. Conditional grants are in 2 forms. The first one is infrastructure, such as roads, water provision, public works programs, and poverty alleviation programs, and also capacity building and restructuring. So under conditional grants, just like we said in provinces, conditional grants are not given to everybody. They are given to municipalities that are contributing to issues of infrastructure, capacity building, and so on, to encourage them and to equip them to do the work that they are doing. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd like to kindly ask you to subscribe and help us to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers by the beginning of May. I will see you next time. God bless you.